Good afternoon, everyone. The next speaker whom I'm asked to introduce, I feel that you don't need an introduction. However, for the people who are here new this year, the speaker is Sandro, who's very active in the Microsoft integration community. His blog must be one of the most visited ones in the community, and he has also published many blogs and white papers on Azure and BizTalk Server. He has also co-authored one of the best-selling books, Migrating to BizTalk Server 2020. Join us while Sandro discusses about building hybrid integration solutions with BizTalk Server 2020.
Okay, thank you. It was a nice introduction. So forget about the name of the session, BizTalk Server 2020. You probably know BizTalk a lot. My session will be about the experience of being an enterprise integration developer. Okay? Doesn't need to be BizTalk or Logic App in Azure. It's about enterprise integration, developer capabilities and experience. No? So let me see if it's not working. Why it's not working? Okay. Okay, now it's working. So for those who doesn't know me, my name is Sandro Pereira. I'm not a BizTalk guru. I'm not a BizTalk developer. I am an enterprise integration consultant. That means I am a developer. I'm an administration, an architect, a training. I do all of this stuff. Okay, I do enterprise integration. I'm the head of integration at DevScope. I'm a Microsoft MVP for 11 years. Started as a BizTalk MVP, integration MVP, and now I'm an Azure MVP focused on integration. Okay, Azure is a lot of stuff. I'm focused on enterprise integration. So you have my emails there. I'm a father of 3 kids. I'm getting old. I want to spend my time with the kids, not spending time solving issues that Microsoft provide me. So yeah, so that's why this session. And if you want to offer me something, offer me wine. I'm a wine lover, not a beer. I like wine. Yeah, I had a new book. It's not my book, okay? I had the pleasure to be writing this book with Lex and Tom Cantor. So applause for them also. You find that book there if you want it. It's about all of these 3 crazy minds, about 20 years of experience about migrating BizTalk. So it's there. And to help me on this session, I'm going to ask a friend of mine to be here on stage with me. His name is Jack, okay? He's going to help me be delivering this session. And what is about hybrid integration? It's not you, Kent, okay? So for me, hybrid integration is not everything that needs to be hybrid. Some of the process may be cloud to cloud, other is on-premise to on-premise, on-premise to the cloud, and cloud to on-premise, no? The old solution, it's hybrid, okay? It doesn't need that old process has to come with BizTalk, go to Azure and all of this stuff. Some has to be hybrid, okay? The old solution, it's hybrid. And most of my solutions at the moment are hybrid, okay? So you all want to speak about the big elephant in the room. What about BizTalk? It's going to be a BNext version or not? Well, I don't care about that, okay? Why do you need a new version of BizTalk? You only need a new version of BizTalk if there is a new Windows server, okay? And you don't have a clear roadmap from the Windows server, okay? So if it's a Windows Server 2022 or 23, probably Microsoft will release a new version of BizTalk. I'm not saying I don't have any inside information, but this is my opinion, okay? And BizTalk Server 2020 is in fact 2016 with feature pack. That nothing changed. That's it. It's just an update. And we don't need anything else. If you look about the core features of BizTalk, they are the same of 2004. Right? More functionality on top of that, WCF, JSON, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. But the core, the basics, most of them are from 2004. It makes a robust and really good platform for enterprise integration on-premise. And yet, today, there is nothing better than BizTalk on-premise. At the moment, it is the best one, okay? Doesn't mean that, yeah, in some cases, standard can replace BizTalk. Yes, it can, okay? In some cases, it is true. In other cases, it's not true. So HL7, I don't see standard replace HL7 with BizTalk on-premise, or Rosetta Net on-premise, all of these. I don't think that it will replace at the moment, but at some point it may replace everything, okay? But I'm not worried about what is the future of BizTalk. If there is a need, Microsoft will not let down the customers, okay? So what do you want to see in BizTalk? Well, I want to see a better hybrid solution and history, okay? Better connectors to the hybrid story. Create everything on Azure, but let me connect in an easy way my on-premise to Azure, okay? Fix the problems, the existing problems, you know? Create new feature pack. So Microsoft already extended support for Microsoft from BizTalk Server, okay? But there is a new SQL Server. SQL Server also has a deadline in terms of support. So there is this BizTalk Server 2022. Let me have access to this one. Let me have access to SQL managed instance on the Azure with MES DTC on Azure, because it's already available, that feature. So this is something that I want to see in BizTalk nowadays, not a new version of BizTalk. Bring back the SMTP adapter. This is something that I like it. You know, they replace for the Outlook, but the Outlook has several issues. No? Well, you may think that I'm using a bug, but it's not a bug. This is a feature by design. I have two tennis, different colors. This is for our organization, autist organization, and to be different is to be equal. So I have to choose different colors for buying these tennis. Well, Microsoft used that term for everything. It's not a bug. It's a feature by design, no? Service bus adapter has several issues for me. So the only adapter that I know that can kill you in 5 minutes your BizTalk infrastructure is the service bus adapter, okay? So I learned that in a bad situation because everything was working fine, and I do love service bus. For me, it's one of the best service. But I had to stop pulling data from the service bus because my system was in maintenance. So I get 2,000 messages in the service bus queue. And when I started, I was expecting to pull 100 each 30 seconds. And guess what? That's not true. It picks all of them in 5 minutes, so I get 2,000 messages in my single box and was completely dead. I had to stop everything, suspend 2,000 messages, and all of this stuff. It was a good time, you know. Even the send adapter has issues. It can't stop sending, so you probably need to restart the host instance to start sending again. Outlook email adapter, well, best of luck of using that, using dynamic ports. Best of luck on that, okay? It doesn't work. You have to create a static port using a dynamic behavior, and then you are in the same place, okay? And for all of these issues that I cannot report to Microsoft, there are only one solution for them. Create a host instance, a dedicated host instance. You control the throttling, you solve everything. Yeah, I will end up having 30, 45 host instances in a single machine. And guess what? I have to create a new machine for that, pay more license, and guess what? BizTalk is not cheap, okay? So this is not the solution. So this is what I want to see Microsoft solving in Azure, in BizTalk. But let's go and move to the cloud. No, I'm fine. I don't have any servers now. No more migration. I'm on Azure. Yeah. Go with that story because we have logic app consumption. You have highs. We have standard V3 and app service and Kubernetes and containers. And guess what? They are not compatible, 100% compatible. Microsoft call it export from consumption to standard. I call it migration, okay? Because it's migration from consumption to standard. You have to tuning that. Even if you move from consumption to eyes, and eyes use consumption, you have to migrate stuff because you don't want to run the connectors on the Azure, but you want the core connector. So you have to migrate. You have to tune in something else. Okay? So you still have migration on Azure, and without speaking the API connections, because actions get deprecated. And you don't want to be on that space, okay? This is the same if you have the SQL Connect, SQL adapter from BizTalk is deprecated since 2006. Only in 2020, Microsoft removed that. Or you will not have that luck in the Azure. So you want to be faster than migrating all of this stuff, okay? So, and yeah, we learn about we want to modernize, innovate our integration landscape, yeah? Well, when you see that people migrating, you see that they are migrating file to file, so it's just keeping file to file. They are not innovating. They are using a different tool to do the same stuff in a different way or in a worse way than we are using that. I show them this solution in 2019 here on Integrate. This is one of my customers, Maureen from the Cork worldwide manufacturing. We started in a BizTalk world. Everything was 100% on-premise. This is kind of the solution we have nowadays. This is for me innovation. No, it's not choosing BizTalk or Logic App. It's taking the process and put it to work in a smart way, different way, depending on the technology you're using. So I start with BizTalk. Now we have Data Factory, machine learning. We have Logic App, Service Bus. All of these technologies working together in a better way, in an easy way, giving more power and information to your customers. This for me is innovating, okay? And we also see that there is a lot of difficulty in finding skilled people for BizTalk, okay? So we want to move to Logic App. No? It's easy to find on Azure, and probably it's easier. You will find cheaper because you find a lot of people. But guess what? Enterprise integration is not easy. You are in the middle of everything, everyone, and you have special skills on that. No? And for me still, and I'm not saying that BizTalk guys are the best, no? BizTalk guys has 20 years of experience in enterprise integration. The challenge you face on-premise, it will be the same challenge you face on Azure. You just need different tools to fix the issues. But what you find today in most of places is this kind of solutions on Azure. No error handling. No persistent point, no kind of ideas about retries, debug, parallelism information, because people sometimes don't understand these terms. Okay? I was with the client saying, how do you retry? How do you catch errors? Well, message gets suspended, we resume the execution, starts all over again. Yeah, okay? It can solve some of the issues, but this is not the best way. So in cases of you need to guarantee consistency between systems, you are going to duplicate messages in certain systems, you are not controlling. It's not like BizTalk that well, inserting SAP, it fails on CRM, so resume and go to CRM again. Logic App doesn't have that capabilities. It doesn't persist the message. So you need to create all of this information. You need to create error handling and so on. So kind of, yeah, you'll find a lot of resources doing Azure, but are they doing the correct integration, enterprise integration platform that you need? Yeah, that's a different story. And often say that you can migrate BizTalk to Logic App. Okay? If you hear someone saying that, run as fast as you can. Okay? It's impossible to migrate BizTalk to Logic App. Logic App is a workflow. Okay? BizTalk is not a workflow. It's a platform. So, and I like the story of Microsoft yesterday. You need to use Azure Integration Service. And that's the main service. But there is a lot more to use. Key vaults, configurations, storage account, data factory, app insights, SQLs, well, you name it. Okay? Migrating BizTalk solution to the cloud is not migrate to Logic App. And yeah, the only way to migrate BizTalk to the cloud as is migrate to VMs, no? And if you are using BizTalk migrating tool, I'm going to use migration tool to migrate, yeah. Run, okay? I like also the story about Microsoft that migration tool is not a migration tool, but the guidelines to do that. And I like that, okay? Every single tool that help me do an assessment to get more insights to Azure or migrate my solution is a good tool, okay? But also, BizTalk migration tool, there is only one BizTalk migration tool. It was a tool created in 2010 to migrate BizTalk to BizTalk bNext. This tool that they are speaking is Azure Integration Migration Tool, okay? So, but still, it is an assessment and it gives guideline to migrate because BizTalk and Azure has different capabilities, different platform. So it's a redesign, a different way to think about. You don't think about cost in BizTalk. You think about cost in Azure because it will be there present. And what about the developer experience in Logic App? Well, you may think that BizTalk as a tool is a tool. We have the Visual Studio tool. It's good or bad, is our tool. In Azure, we have the Azure portal, Visual Studio 2019 to Logic App consumption, Visual Studio Code for standard. If you are using integration account, you have to go to Visual Studio 2015, okay? And I don't know about you guys, but I prefer Visual Studio than Visual Studio Code, okay? This is my tool. I am a developer in some cases, so I want to use my major tool for developer is Visual Studio, not Visual Studio Code, and I'm happy that there is a support of that, but I would like to see consistency about this developer tool on Azure. And you may think that Microsoft has 20 years of experience in enterprise integration. They learn from the past, no? They learn from everything that we complain about BizTalk Server. They fix that everything on Azure, no? So in BizTalk, we have this experience about creation variables, okay? A decent one. We have a panel, and we can create all the variables that we want. Even you can create variables inside scopes. They did a good job on Logic App, okay? Yeah. They will have 20 shapes just to create variables. They cannot be inside the scope, so it cannot collapse anymore. It has to be in the main, and you get a big size of workflow just because we need that amount of variables, Okay. Resizable windows. Everyone complains about BizTalk and resizable windows. Most of them are fixed at the moment. Okay. Guess what? Variables, expressions. Eh? You see that small pink square? Thank you, Microsoft. Make my day. And the expression editor is amazing, no? I can write a huge amount, space, readable, everything good. Luckily, I don't know if you saw, but my friend Kentware mentioned that the expression editor on Power Automate is way, way better than in Logic App. And about copy and paste. In BizTalk, we Control-C, Control-V. Guess what in Logic App? What? Copy and paste actions? No way. You have to do it by scratch. I like developers. This is productivity, okay? So you have to create everything from scratch. Okay, I don't want to upset them too much. So let's go to another topic, no? But at least we have everything to develop our business logic, no? We have a good error handling, and we can create error handling per actions, because you can configure the run after settings. We can create scopes and do a try catch in a general case. We cannot raise exceptions. I don't know why. If you can raise an exception, we can't. Not the easy way to get the error message also from the catch exceptions. And we can speak later on that. There are more than 500 connections. None of them can be almost set dynamically. There is no dynamic way inside Logic App. Everything is kind of static. So in BizTalk, we focus on the message. We don't care about the system. We can dynamically set a SQL database and so on and so forth. Not with the SQL connector on Azure. It has to be static, dedicated to that database, that system, that server. That's it, okay? And this is my youngest, okay? He always find a way to take an object and make a different use of that object, no? So this is my dog bed, and he say, yeah, good place to be sitting, eating my fruit and watching to the pool, no? This is what I'm thinking about playing with Azure Integration Service. I have a problem. I have to sync different service to use it to make solving of a problem. So for example, if I want to get the correct error message from my Logic App, I need to create a function to call REST APIs to get the error message. If I want to throw an exception, I probably need to create a new Logic App, a child Logic App, to get back a 500 response back. If I want to create kind of a context of a dynamic connector, I may need to create Logic App to work as a connector itself. Like you see on the SQL adapter of BizTalk, you have the operations. I can set different strategies on that on the Logic App side. And what about tracking capabilities inside Azure? You have a lot of ways to track data, no? But I mean tracking data from start to end, no? And BizTalk is fairly easy to do that. We have a console, everything passed there. We have kind of more or less end-to-end tracking capabilities. But in Azure, well, something can happen in API management, go to a store, service bus, Logic App, and so on and so forth. So we need to create our tracking mechanism. There is nothing kind of out of the box that allow you to do end-to-end tracking. You have to build it from yourself. It's not that difficult, but you need to build everything. Or you can have this kind of serverless 360, and for that, I'm not a seller, but for that they have these kind of built-in capabilities of tracking end-to-end the data. No? What about what is compose an application inside Azure? Okay? Because, yeah, for better or worse, in BizTalk we have this admin console. We know what is present on that application. We have the send ports, receive ports, mappings, orchestrations. You know what compose an application. Well, in Azure, it's kind of the only things that similar to that is a resource group. And it's kind of BizTalk 2004 that we have no concept of application, everything is bind together, and it's difficult for us to say that my application uses API management, a function, and a logic app. Because it's a resource group, it has everything there. No? Even if you kind of have these different resource group for what is common, what is dedicated, it's difficult for us to have this end-to-end visibility of what compose our application. Well, again, there is nothing out of the box. I like this feature on Serverless 360 because it allows me to select certain service and if it's a function, certain function saying that this is what composes my application. I know, at least using that specific application composed by this service. Well, for us developers it's easy, okay. We deliver the solution, that's it, but oh man, the people that needs to maintain that, it's horrible, okay. They will not understand. And naming conventions in Azure, no? Well, we have alphanumeric and dash in periods, underscore, hyphens. Well, all of them have different naming policies conventions, which is difficult to create a good naming convention in general. And also the API connections. Okay? API connections that they are using on side logic app, SQL 1, SQL 2, Office, several Office, man. Key Vaults 1, Dropbox. This is the experience you have out of the box by creating a connector inside the logic app designer. Okay? I joke with them, and they know that if someone works for me and create a program called Program 1, Function 2, it will be fired in a week. But we have this experience. Of course, we can change that. We can actually change that, but it's not an easy task. I would expect that when I'm creating a connector, they ask me, what is the connector name? I say, yeah, connector, blah, blah, blah. That's the name I want. They create that for me, okay? Because with that, it's difficult for us to see what is doing that. SQL 1, SQL 2, no? And again, people that are monitoring and admitting that, you have to go one by one and see and what connectors are deprecated there. Who is going to be using, what logic app is using that connector. There is no information at all in the Azure portal that tells me that SQL 1 is being used by logic app 1, 2, and 3. No? All of these is kind of difficult to have monitoring inside your infrastructure. Again, we can change that, and you see that on the red box, I have normally my naming convention, that is connector, SQL, and then the SQL database that I'm connecting is more readable. Okay? You can do that by the CI/CD process. You can do it by going to the JSON code and change that. But it is not easy. That should be easier to do that. You have to do manually steps. Again, I'm getting old. Okay? So there is no perfect solution. There is no perfect technology. You need to choose what is better for you, for your client. You have to focus on your client and based on their needs, choose the correct technology. Or even better, use all of them, okay? Combine all of them. And I think still I have time, no? So let's speak a little about BizTalk and what actually was this session about some hybrid integrations. So let me, So actually, BizTalk Server has a decent way, decent is the word, to connect with Azure. We have the event hubs connected. We have blob storage. We have nowadays Office 365. Yeah, it's there. We have the service bus and of course HTTP and Logic App. Okay, Logic App is one of the ones I use most. It's fairly easy to use, so we kind of if we go to the sound ports, I probably have here the Logic App. This is the send port. Let me see here. Yep, I have it here. So this is as simple as go to the configuration and configure. You sign in on Azure, you select the subscription. It shows all, you select the subscription resource group, it will show all the Logic apps that are HTTP triggered, and you select one and that's it. Simple as that. You send a message, it works like a charm. So nothing difficult on that. We also can go to the Logic app and we have a BizTalk connector. You need to create, of course, this hybrid integration, but we can actually send it directly to BizTalk. I prefer to use the service bus, put on the service bus, and from BizTalk get message from the service bus. But yeah, you can also do that. Regarding to the service bus, and I told you that, well, service bus will pick all the messages that are inside the queue or subscription, brings back to BizTalk. No? There is no way for you to say, give me X amount of message in the pooling interval. How did I solve that? Was really simple. So I create a Logic app that pulls message from a queue, and actually the Logic app, the service bus, allows me to say I want a maximum message of 175, and that's the maximum that they allow each X amount of seconds, and that will work. So I create this Logic app to pull message from the queue and put in another queue, and I just went to my BizTalk and say, okay, figure out that to my support queue, and I was able to consume that 2,000 message in an easy way. Of course, later on, I end up creating, and let me see here on the receive locations, I end up creating a queue, a service bus queue adapter that allows me to, no, that was not a queue adapter. That allows me to set up the number of messages I want and do the same stuff that I'm using inside the Logic app. Now, if I want, I can skip that Logic app and I can use this connector. But guess what? By using that Logic app, I spent 10 years in a month, but I solved the main issue that I had, that was processing that 2,000 messages. So it was quite a cheapy way, a fast way to solve and address my problems. I also told you that and let me open Visual Studio, that, well, using using Office 365, and I still have clients that send the message through email. It's an old process, but I cannot change the way they work. I have to respect and implement that requirements. And I was trying to send, and let me see where is my message, to send an email, a fancy email, I mean, with a nice, decent HTML through BizTalk. And there are 3 ways you can achieve that. First way, using C# code. And guess what? This is the best way at the moment. The second one is use the SMTP adapter. But the problem with the SMTP adapter is that we don't have a SLL TLS support. So most of the SMTP adapters now force you to use that. So the SMTP adapter is unused at the moment. And for Microsoft to fix that is 2 lines of codes. 2 lines of codes. That's just, use SSL through, use TLS through, or something like that, or what type of TLS you want to use, and problem solved. And the other is to use the Office 365 email connector. So the problem with that is that you need to have an Outlook account. You cannot use Gmail. You have to use Outlook account. And most of the times when you use the SMTP, you use a dynamic port, not a static port. Based on the email of the message you want to set up and do it dynamically. Again, do not use dynamically because you get all the messages suspended inside your BizTalk. So even retry policies are not working. There is a bug going to be fixed soon. But you have to create the concept of, and there is also an issue because the Office 365 email connector, it has a token. So for you to create a dynamic token, you first has to create a static port to get the token, save the token, and use it dynamically inside your Visual Studio. So for avoid that, you need to create a static port, use that token on the static port because that static port will renew the token. And this here, it's BTS is dynamic send. You need to set up as a true, and then you can configure the to send all of these properties in a dynamic way, and you are able to actually use the connector itself. So yeah, this is a way. And even I told you that, and in my Amurin scenario, I have 4 databases that are equal. Okay, based on the context of the message, I need to query one database or the other database. They are equal, but they are different companies. So I was trying to use the SQL adapter, SQL connector as a dynamic way. It's not allowed, but I create this kind of logic app that basically each logic app has a company name. It's a replica of each, so all of them are the same, equal, but it kind of has this concept of a SQL database in the BizTalk world with a connector operation. So I set the operation, and by the operation, I'm going to use different SQL connectors on Azure to use this kind of dynamic way to get the data from the systems. And my main logic app then based on the HTTP, based on the message, they will, let me see if I can remember that, they will call the logic app in a dynamic way. But in this case, for example, the logic app connector doesn't allow you to set up also the dynamic logic app that I want. So I cannot say use this logic app or use that logic app in runtime. The only connector that allows you to do that is the HTTP connector. So I use the HTTP connector to call my child logic app in a dynamic way, and you see that my URI here is in a dynamic way. I'm going based on the company. I'm going to get that data from the app configuration, and I'm going to set it dynamically. So this is a way for you also to create this kind of hybrid integration in a different way, smart way, call it whatever you want, but it is implementing some of these capabilities that you have in BizTalk in Logic App also. And with that, it's everything that I want to tell you, and thanks for listening to me, and I hope you like it.
Cove.co